For years on this channel, you've watched the trials and tribulations of daily driving a classic car. The highs, the lows, the in-betweens, you've seen them all. But what you don't see behind the camera of a lot of people who have classic cars on social media is just how trying it can be sometimes. And today, I'd like to talk a little bit about that. I'm Tomo, this is 427 Motorsports, finally back because we've got working internet again. Let's talk about my new modern daily. This is Amelia. She's a 2015 Golf Mark 7 with the ever venerable VW TDI engine. We'll get into this particular car in a few though. I got her back in May of this year after I had reached, quite frankly, the end of my tether and honestly couldn't really take it anymore. Now, before I go any further, I will say a lot of you are probably thinking to yourselves, well, that sounds like a you problem, Tomo, as I get further into this, but trust me, it's not just me. I know for a fact that even in my own immediate circles, there are a lot of people who go through the same thing. Granted, most of them probably went on to do what I did an awful lot sooner. Just took me a lot of convincing. It can be hard maintaining, well, a fleet, especially on, admittedly, a bit of a shoestring budget and always to a tight schedule, because some of us are stupid enough to use them to commute. But first, let's talk a little bit about me. Let's see if you can relate. I got the affliction for classics fairly early on. You might have already heard the story in the 50 years of golf history video, but I got my first car at 15 years old as a cheap project. This one right here. Like many people who grew up with Hot Wheels and Gran Turismo, one car in the garage is never going to cut it, and over time, more arrived. Another Golf here, a Subaru there, a deal that's too good to pass up on. Oh, when will you find another one? I know my girlfriend is scowling at me right now watching this. Eventually, you get a bit of a name for yourself locally as being the guy that collects a certain type of car, and before you know it, you're being messaged and offered cars that aren't publicly for sale at prices you can't afford to miss, because you're the man for it, or you'll save it from going to scrap. This is kind of what happens when you get known for being a little bit too sentimental and having just that little bit of space to store stuff. Pro tip, just because you have the space doesn't mean you have to fill it. At the minute, I've got 8 cars. 3 Mark II Golfs, the Subaru, a Mercedes S124, a VW bay window, this new Mark 7, and a mystery vehicle that's arriving very soon, and you'll see it on the channel. But before this Mark 7, the newest thing that I owned was the Subaru, which was off the road with engine issues for the last couple of years, and while looking fine, turned out to be totally rotten underneath, as you might have seen in the last couple of videos. So, other than that, the newest thing I had was 35 years old. And think about it, what other major appliance, or well, any appliance really, do you expect to still be doing the same work 35 years later? And in this case, being used daily, hundreds of miles a week, and not expect things to go wrong. The short answer is, realistically, there's nothing. And it's a bit unfair, no matter how many new parts you throw at something, to expect it to always work. For the last 11 years, I have daily driven basically nothing but classics. Thousands upon thousands of miles doing Domino's deliveries, driving to uni, to work every day across Europe, all over the place. In the same time frame, I would confidently put myself in a very low bracket of high mileage exclusively classic drivers. There's got to stop, before I do. The thing is, there is a massively overhyped and over-romanticised vision of owning classic cars on social media. See, for every post about things going wrong and the harsh realities of classics, there's about 34,000 posts of people going on about how we need nothing but a pure old-school driving experience. Because for every 100 bloody generic car account that's out there at the minute of people trying to be the next Jeremy Clarkson, not that I have anything wrong with Jeremy or the whole style of journalism, but they're sitting spitting things like, oh, you need to sell everything that you have because this was the first classic to have 5-point multi-link rear suspension. You know what car I'm talking about. But that's all that they've managed to Google in the last 5 minutes before they got this loaner car from somebody that's never left the garage in the last 10 years except to go to MOT and is meticulously looked after. So they can go and make a TikTok about it, pretend they know everything about the thing, even though, well, they don't. In amongst all that, there's about 3 people out there who are actually putting up posts about how their classic that they love to bits went to state inspection and they've just been told, nope, the rust is terminal and you're going to have to get rid of it. The heart-wrenching realities of classic ownership. We just don't see enough of it, and yes, I know some people will say, oh, well, that's because most people look at them. It's just not the case. You only need to look at my bank accounts to see how much money and time and effort gets spent on these classics, but they're still going to let you down. And the problem is, nobody wants to talk about this because we just romanticize the thought of old school living whenever you weren't even there in the first place, and it was probably miserable at the time because carburetors are the work of the devil. People who maybe don't know anything about actually living with a classic are out there overwhelming the people who are sitting there nearly driven to tears because the car that means most to them is going to have to go to the car park in the sky. The reality is, a lot of the time for those of us who can't afford to go out and spend a fortune on meticulously owned examples, which I'll inform you is about 85% of people who own classic cars, it can really be one of the most testing hobbies to be into. Because something that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about is the fact that it can actually affect more than just you. Things constantly going wrong can take its toll on those around you as well, which is where I had to begin to draw the line. I should say though, I didn't actually know that was the case until after the fact that I had bought a modern car. I should stress that everybody around me over the years has been so supportive of my affliction, shall we say. Even if I was essentially a lot of the time just killing myself to live, to quote a Sabbath song that I have been quoting far too much lately. Because there's only so many times that you can miss events, life experiences, anger those around you because a 40-year-old component has left you stranded at the side of the road once again. Earlier this year, when driving my previous daily driver, the Mark II GTI, and it shit itself on the motorway, I kinda had reached that final time. Enough was enough. I needed to get something more dependable to do these menial tasks like going up and down the motorway. There's no point in wasting the precious miles I have with the cars I love by using them up on the motorways and also increasing the likelihood of someone not paying attention while driving and taking it all away from me. So I bit the bullet and I bought a modern car. And honestly, after getting some initial teething issues sorted out, I haven't looked back since. And now coming into winter time, I'm really going to appreciate it. Now, I should clarify, this isn't my only time ever having something modern. Some would probably say that the Mercedes W211 I had is fairly modern. Still a 20-year-old car, give or take. And I did have a very brief stint with a Polo, I think it was a Mark VI, but I didn't really endear myself to it, and it only lasted for, I think, about half a year. But this is the first time having something modern that I actually lusted over before having it. The Mark VII Golf was a peak moment in the Golf lineage, but if you're here, I probably don't need to tell you that. The Mark VII is the benchmark from which all new cars really should be based from. As a piece of well-made, good-looking, refined transportation without breaking the bank, honestly, there is no better. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you either. This car has not been smooth sailing. I did my usual method of getting the cheapest possible of something, and there were some surprise issues. And unfortunately, because it's not 30-year-old, I didn't really know what I was doing with it, and I had to hand it to somebody else. But even after sorting those, the car is still on a budget for what I wanted to spend. And I know the car has things sorted that realistically could have went wrong on a more expensive car as well. I did at times regret my decision, don't get me wrong, but that was due to those teething issues. After they were sorted, I honestly have been nothing but enamoured with it. But not necessarily enamoured with the car itself, but what it means for me and the other cars. No longer am I stressing to get jobs done just so I have a car for work the next day. No longer am I staying up at night worrying about keeping them all going or dealing with rust. Or, probably most importantly, how much it's going to cost me this month just to keep them all alive. But most importantly, for my mental health more than anything, it's the ability to finally take a step back, have a breather, and come back to it later. I can actually go out and enjoy my life and the world around us without sitting thinking about will I make it there and back, or what I should be doing at home instead. And it also means that I'm not forcing them to be out in conditions when they really shouldn't be. Now don't get me wrong, I know I've always complained about people babying their classics and not taking them out in the rain or the snow, but Maybe it was an angsty teenager, I don't know. But more importantly to me, and my reasoning behind it, is that the roads here get salted, which maybe they don't where you are. But also, in this country especially, don't know about your instance, but as soon as it starts to get that little bit darker in the evenings, every single idiot on the road completely forgets how to drive. And I don't really want anything to happen to my babies. So to close, I just want to say, you have to be careful with classics. They are, to be honest, an addiction. What draws you to them is unfortunately also what can cause you to get consumed by them. And before you know it, your whole life is changing to suit them. And honestly, I'm not one of those addictive personality types, but it can be really easy to get sucked in. It was really easy for me to be for years sucked in, and finally having something to just hop in after work, go up and down the motorway without a second thought, especially as it starts to get dark in the evenings and it's raining and cold and miserable, you really start to appreciate having something a little bit newer in the years. The personalities of the cars become quirks, not hindrances like they have been. Classic cars, after all, are an experience like no other. You just need to make sure you are enjoying the experience. And, make sure it's a good experience. So, I hope this little look into the behind the scenes part of classic car ownership has maybe been a wake-up call for some of you. I'm not saying you need to go out and buy a classic or a modern car tomorrow. If it's not you, it's not you. That's fair enough. I understand it's not the mantra of the channel, but what I do urge you to do if you're into classics is to put this thing first, because I know us men really aren't very good at doing that. So maybe this will help. I'm sure of everybody watching this, there's one person out there who's watched this video and thought, man, I need to do something about my life. So if that's the case, I'm happy to have helped. If you think I'm a wuss, quite frankly, fair enough, I accept. But you know what? It needed to be said. Some things in this video definitely needed to be said. So there you are. I'm very excited because Subaru is finished. It's a way of getting aligned. So I've now got internet and I can do videos again. So I need to do a Subaru video. I've got the new project arriving on Tuesday, which I'm hoping to get done very quickly. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, check out the web store, buy yourself a t-shirt. It all goes towards the doing up of the cars and all the rest. There's a Patreon. I'd like to give a big thank you to the patrons. I've listed them at the start of the video. Your name could be there too. I need to send you guys some stickers. Sorry I haven't yet. It will happen. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I've been Tomo. This is 427 Motorsports. Good luck.